Okay, guys, it's time to turn her from black and white into color. I'm so excited. This is one of my past demos. I've done her quite a few times, so I've got several, but let's talk through the process. Okay, now you're going to get a fresh sheet of marker paper because we're going to trace just her outline onto a fresh page. I had one I was about to use. Where did I put it? Okay. Now, what you need to do is find out if you're on the face of your marker paper or the wrong side of your marker paper. So I started scribbling on mine. You can take a marker and do a blob of ink. And I don't know if you guys can see this with the light, but can you see that? My marker is not drying properly. It's staying really shiny and it's leaving a puddle and it's kind of streaking. You'll know it when you see it. When you go to the correct side of the marker paper and you do a puddle, it just sort of absorbs neatly. It doesn't make that wet spot kind of floating on the surface of the paper. So before you do anything, pause and make sure that you're on the correct side of your marker paper. Okay, now we're going to take a marker paper and we're going to lightly trace our figure. Okay, now she's got full-on shading, but a lot of times when I do this, I will have just a very well, I'll talk about that in a minute. For now, I'm just going to trace the one we've already got. Okay, so you guys have already drawn her. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lightly trace. Okay, now I am not tracing anything additional beyond what I absolutely need for her. Okay, I don't even know if I'd need to trace her buns because I know where they are. I'm going to be just fine doing her hair in color. I don't need a lot of pencil lines. I know where her ears are, mouth. I'm going to put a little bit of detail in the face, but not much, guys, because we don't want a lot of pencil on our final colored illustration. Pencil and marker are not best friends. Okay, they're really not. They don't love each other. Marker looks really good with colored pencil, but it does not look great with drawing pencil. I'll tell you, watercolor and drawing pencil play okay together, but with our marker illustrations, we ideally want to try to avoid having a ton of pencil lines on here. Okay, so I'm going to pause this and just finish tracing her lightly. Okay, now you can see how I traced her, and I really did not put a lot of pencil on there. Here is some other examples. These are just past ones that I did from reference photos, which are here, and you can see that I worked out the drawing, but then when it was time to do it in color, I barely traced it, guys. And you don't need that many lines on here, I promise you, because you just drew her in pencil, so you know how to draw her. You know where the details are. We're going to do them in color. Don't spend your time putting them in graphite pencil because it won't look great underneath your marker. Okay, so let's talk through how we're going to do this. I've got my reference photo here as always. Let's go ahead and just start in the same order we did before. I'm going to do the blue fur first. So what I do whenever I'm doing markers, after I figure out which side is the face of my paper, is I make what I call my recipe. Okay, so I need a blue marker for this skirt, and this is fine. This one will work just fine. When I use these markers, the first coat that I put down is going to be the lightest, and if I go over it a second time, I can get it darker, and I can get it even darker. Okay, now that's my blue. That's my base. On top of that, I'm going to add white if it shows up, but it really doesn't, so maybe I'll just skip the white. And I'm going to add a darker color for shadows. So let me see what I've got here. Maybe this one. Yeah, this is great. Okay, so I've got a nice blue that pops, and by varying my pencil pressure, I can get a nice range of value. Okay, so from very dark to very light. I might need some extra super dark highlights, so I'm going to go for one of my favorite colored pencils, the navy blue, the blue indigo. And now I've got a super dark, okay? So I call this my recipe. This is how, and I'm gonna write that on here. This is my recipe for the skirt part, okay? And I'm gonna make recipes for all the different parts of the garment, for her face, for her hair, for her jacket, and that way I know exactly what I need to use. And I will tell you, for pretty much everything, each part of the garment, you can do it with one marker and 2 colored pencils. Let's see if I can show you what I mean. So for her skirt, I'm going to go ahead and get a nice wash of marker. I'm using the chisel tip. The chisel tip might take you a second to get used to. Some people don't really love it, but I've really grown to like the chisel tip like a lot. I'm really happy using it, but I don't think I felt that way right at first. I think it did take me a little while to kind of learn to appreciate it and get used to how to use it. Okay, so I'm filling this in. Now what I want you to notice is that I am doing all my strokes vertically like this. The skirt has texture. That texture is the fur, which is falling vertically. So if you're going to get some pen streaks, which you will, because markers do make a little bit of streakiness when they overlap, then let those streaks actually work to your advantage, okay? So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add more marker to get that sort of darker color. Put it in here. And I'm starting to draw fur strokes. Just like I did in pencil, I'm going to use my marker to give me some texture, okay? You can switch if you want to the skinny side of the marker, but we don't want to be here all day drawing little lines, and that's kind of why people have switched to marker. Fashion illustration used to really be watercolor and gouache and these beautiful media that, you know, are fine art in and of themselves, but they take forever, guys. They take so long. With markers, we can be immediate. We can get so much ground covered so quickly, and that's why people love markers with fashion illustration. We've really taken a page out of the playbook for industrial design, where they've been using markers for a long time, and we've started, I think it coincides with the fashion cycle really speeding up. Okay, I've got a lot of that done. What I'm going to do now is come and get my blue pencil, make sure it's sharp. I'm going to turn it on its side, and this is going to be more comfortable probably for you guys, because this is just like how we did it with the graphite pencil. You just are using a colored pencil now, okay? So get some more shadows in there, and especially I can see right up underneath her jacket sleeves. We can darken that up. We can darken up in here. We can darken up right in between her fingers. Okay, and then I'm going to turn my pencil on its side, and I'm going to get some nice little wispies. Okay, I'm going to come in, I'm going to put some fur lines, and with fur, a lot of times you'll see me doing strokes that kind of look like this. They kind of go in rows if you look at a lot of fur garments. So I might pull some little rows out like that, okay? Anywhere you need to pop a bit of a silhouette, whether it's on this center part or whether it's on the actual edge of her garment, you can come in with a really sharp pencil and get those little fur lines. Okay, we'll put a little bit more at the bottom edge like that. And remember, try turning your pencil as you go so that you always have a nice sharp, fresh point at the end, okay? I am gonna, I didn't even really use my navy blue. I don't know, maybe I don't need it. I can always come back in at the end and pop a little extra shadow. But I was able to get a pretty good color fur skirt with just one colored pencil and one marker. Okay, let's move on and do the part underneath here. Okay, so we'll do that feathery rooster feather, whatever it is. Let's make our recipe. I'm going to start with a gray. So in my package of pens, I've got a lot of different grays, and quite honestly, guys, I think you can make a lot of them work. This is a cool gray 3. Here's a what else do I have? Cool gray 1. Oh, that's like greenish. I don't know. I think I like this one. I just have this inexpensive set of markers because it was 100 markers for not a lot of money. And this way I just don't have to be precious with them. I have some nicer quality markers. I have a really nice set of Prismacolor. And to be honest with you guys, I never use them. I never use them. I just have these ones that I pull out all the time, and I don't stress about it. I mix the colors together, which I'm sure I'll demo for you guys at some point. And I just feel, I really like the feeling of not having to stress about my supplies because they were very inexpensive. A lot of art supplies are really expensive, and they're wonderful. They're worth it. But, with the markers, I don't want to stress too much. Okay, so there's some fur coming out from under her. Notice again, I use that chisel tip and I'm just sweeping that fur down here. And let's see, I'm trying to figure out, it's a little darker right there. I'll put a little bit extra. I will get a couple extras here just to pop a little shadow, but, oh, sorry, back to my recipe. 1 coat, 2nd coat for shadows, which I kind of just did. And then we're gonna need some details. So let's find that black colored pencil with a nice sharp tip, and that is gonna give us some details. And if we need a tiny bit of white, we can do that as well. And the white Prismacolor will show up on the darker parts of your marker, but it's really got to be Prismacolor, guys. These are the best. There's nothing that compares to the Prismacolor colored pencils. So just like we did, it's literally the same markings that I made when I did her skirt with pencil. I'm going to do that same thing over here. Fill it in, fill it in, fill it in, sort of doing these tight little zigzaggies going all the way along in kind of broken rows. And in some places I might go all the way down on a feather. Maybe I'm going to do this one all the way down. Okay, and just work your way through. Now, I don't feel like I've quite got what I want here. I'm going to come in with my pencil on its side, and I'm actually going to sweep in a couple of harder lines so that we can see some of these individual feathers, and that's a really nice thing to do on your silhouette again. I'm also going to make sure that I get some of these darker areas, just like that, just like that, just like that. Okay, and then take your time and get those little scratchy rows of patterning on this feathery skirt underlay. Okay, and just work your way through it. Okay, I'm definitely not done there. I don't want to take the time, I think, on this. Well, maybe I'll just do this in multi-videos again. So I'll just go ahead and keep doing some more of these. And guys, again, you know, if you don't mind the longer videos, let me know. If you think I'm breaking it up in a way that's working for you, let me know that too. But I'm really torn because I don't want to shortchange these videos. I want you to see a good demo. I also just I don't want to do work that's not good quality. So that's why I don't want to rush either. Okay, let me see if I can get a little bit more of this in here. I'm trying to see, I don't know if I really even need to put white. I think there's enough white of the paper showing through, and as long as I just take a minute and pop a little bit more darkness in there, I think the darkness contrasting with the gray and the white of the paper that's sort of showing through is working. Okay, so that was my recipe for the skirt. This is my, recipe for the feathers. And we're at 13 minutes. I'm going to do the leggings and the boots in the next video.